Okay, for the glazing, we need to select basically the top faces of the donut. In order to do this in a procedural way, there's a cool feature inside the group node. And we will set this to primitives, so we'll select the faces. And we don't want to select anything by a pattern we input here, but we want to select it by the normals of the geometry. The normals should be facing in the y direction, so x, y, and z. And we just need to lower this spread angle. And by lowering it, you see already, okay, now it's orange on orange, but I think it's visible. You can see that we just select those top faces up here. If I select the node, it's actually better visible. Okay, let me do this again. So by lowering the angle, we will just select those top parts here. Let's do something like this. Now you can see why we are using triangles. The edge will become way more like broken up, but we can enhance this kind of effect a little bit more by setting up some attributes and some more groups. So in order to do this, I will push this down because we will add a couple of nodes in here. First, I wanna start again with a color attribute. Adjust color, one of my favorite nodes nowadays. And I wanna give this a noise. Let's make this black and white, a grayscale. And what I'm trying to achieve here is that I get a lot of black parts up here that run down even more. Out of these areas, I will generate a new group, and then we will combine the new group that consists of all this noise together with our primitives from the top part of the donut, and we will combine them into one coherent group and have hopefully like more those black edges down here, and we break up the entire shape a bit more. Let's adjust this to our liking, so we can adjust the element size here. Maybe I go a little bit smaller, yeah, like this. You can even click on this little icon here and you can adjust the vectors of the noise independently from each other. So if we do x and y and 5, I'm always selecting it wrong. Let's do 0.5 and 0.5. Yeah, and I like this a lot because then we get these really small areas that like run down, and imagine like these are drips of the glazing on the side of the donut. So let's try this, and we will now generate a group from this. So we take another group node like here, and right now we are having the color attribute on our points. So I select points here, and now we need to type in a little expression, but bear with me, it's really not so complicated. In our geometry spreadsheet down here, you can see the attribute is called CD, so color diffuse, split in RGB. Exactly this kind of attribute we can address up here. So by just saying add CD, and then we say it's smaller than 0.5. Yeah, you can see we are left with those black and gray areas. By adjusting this number, we can shrink it or expand it to our liking, but I will go with 0.5 for now. Now our only problem is that this is a point group and this down here is a primitive group, so we will need to group promote our group 2 here. I will say this is our noise group, and in the group promote we will say our noise group is a point group, and I want to have it as a primitive group. And here you see Now we just have the primitives selected, and I think we can shrink this down a bit further, maybe 0.2, maybe 0.1. Yeah, maybe something like this. Now we have these two groups. I can plug this in as well. Let's see here, and we say top faces. So now let's combine these two groups together with a group combine. We place this node wired in. This can be sometimes a bit confusing because here we can select already our groups, but this is basically the name of the new group. So let's call this glazing. This group equals our top faces group, but will be a union with our noise group. So now you can see we combine those two groups together, but we have little patches selected at the bottom again. So to fix this, let's come in here, and then our coloring, let's add a lot of white part to the bottom. So we just have the stuff at the top left. So we put down another attribute, adjust color, wired in here. And again, we choose the trusty old line. We select gray value, zoom a bit out to find this top part. We will go in here, maybe invert our selection like this. Let's highlight the node so we can see what we are doing actually. I'm trying to isolate the top again. And now you think, okay, but here we set up our noise and we are just overwriting it with a new value of color. We can change this here in the operation mode. Like now it's set to always, but we can also say to screen. So our white part is overwriting our gray parts, and we can push this up even more. And now if we look in the group and what is selected, will be just some little parts here at the top. We will expand this group and we will marry it with the other one. And I think we pushed it a little bit too far. So let's go down here. And yeah, here you go. You see, now we have this nice little things selected here. Everything is running down. And we can come in here and select maybe even a little bit more. So all these patches are nice and connected to each other. We go into top faces, maybe select a little bit more like this. Yep, I think that could work. Now this is our foundation. What I want to do now is scatter a lot of points here and then copy little spheres onto those points in order to extrude this kind of surface, or that makes the surface a little bit bigger. So it's not this like flat thing on top of the dough. So let's scatter some points up here. And for the scattering, we will select our glazing group like this. So now our newly created points are just on the surfaces on the top. Let's crank this up maybe to 5000. Yeah, like this. We could copy spheres by hand on top of these, or there's a cool node, it's called VDB from particles, and particles are basically points inside Houdini. And what this will do is it will generate volumes out of each point. They are way too big now, so let's lower the resolution and let's lower the point radius. Yeah, maybe like something like this. The cool thing about volumes is that we can now perform different kind of operations on them, like smoothing, dilating them, eroding them, and shaping them to our liking, basically. So what I definitely want to do is a VDB smooth. Let's put this in. You see everything becomes nice and runny. We can even play a bit with those little sliders here, the voxel radius. To be honest, I kinda like what is happening in here in those kind of transitioning areas. I think that looks quite cool. Yeah, let's go with that. So in order to convert them into polygons again, so we can work with them better, we drop down a VDB convert, we plug it in here, and we choose polygons. Houdini tries to do a good job in meshing those volumes, but I prefer to put down a remesh afterwards again. So we go back to our triangles. Let's do 0.6 maybe. Yeah, let's go with that for now. And we are done with our glazing. Let's merge our dough and our glazing together. And we already have a quite good looking donut, I would say. If this is too much glazing for you, or like it's a bit too thick for your taste, you can always lower it here in the point radius. You see it will become significantly smaller. But we would also need to counterbalance this with more triangles in order this edge is not becoming too sharp. And yeah, I like that. Okay, maybe 0.2. Yeah, that looks cool. Nice.